Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the Sea Vixen F.A.W. Mk.2. This is a currently 8.7 BR rank 5 premium fighter in the Great Britain Air Force's tech tree. It currently costs 8,560 golden eagles when not on sale and comes with 15 backups. With that said, in this video, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about this fighter, including its stats, how it plays, we'll go over its strengths and weaknesses, I'll give it some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation on whether or not I recommend purchasing this vehicle. With that said, if you like this kind of video, please consider subscribing, but without further ado, let's get into it. To start, I'll place its stat card here on the side of the screen. Important things to note are its performance, its armament, and its BR. Now for how it plays. The Sea Vixen is one of the most unique vehicles in War Thunder, which is saying a lot, as there are over 2,000 vehicles currently in game. The main reason for this is because it totally lacks a standard offensive armament of cannons or machine guns, of which are still the primary armament of most fighters at and around this BR. Rather, the Sea Vixen can carry up to 4 missiles of either the Fire Streak or Red Top types. The Red Tops are overall the best, but both types have a limited range and tracking capabilities. With that said, the Sea Vixen is also incredibly fast relative to the planes that it will typically face, which puts it in a great position to boom and zoom against slower enemies. It is incredibly easy to fly up to 5,000, 6,000, or over 7,000 meters by the start of fighting, and then swoop down on unexpected enemies and then hit them with missiles. In many ways, the fact that you have the Red Top missiles, of which are largely better than AIM-9Bs or R3Ss, which are what most people will have at this BR if they have missiles at all, means that the Sea Vixen has a surprisingly effective armament. Basically, most people aren't expecting a semi-competent missile armament at this BR, which puts the Sea Vixen at an advantage. The missiles are powerful enough that they can one-shot a bomber with ease, with the Sea Vixen being fast enough that intercepting said bombers is also relatively easy. The big issue, however, is that these missiles are largely limited to needing to be fired from 1.5 or so kilometers away from an enemy at very most, as they aren't very fast, don't have incredible maneuverability, and most importantly, have an incredibly quick powered phase. Because of these severe limitations, the Sea Vixen is not some sort of British Wunderwaffe at its BR. If nothing else, I've had a few matches where I had 3 or more very quick in succession kills, as the Sea Vixen can easily drop in behind enemy players and fire off a single missile per enemy, hitting most so long as they're mostly flying straight. In a weird way, lacking cannons is somewhat useful, because enemies at this BR are expecting tracer shells to whiz by their cockpits if they or nearby allies being killed. Being that you have missiles, it is surprisingly easy to be stealthy and killing numerous enemies quickly. Finally, insofar as maneuverability is concerned, the Sea Vixen is surprisingly nimble, but will still be outclassed by things like sabers and MiGs, basically your traditional fighters around this BR. Use your speed to fight, however, not your turning. Oh, and bombing bases is a possibility that you can use with this plane, but I would only do so once the match is almost over, and change your loadout mid-match after you land at base. The Sea Vixen is simply too fun with its missiles to load yourself down with bombs at the beginning of a match, even if they don't absolutely kill your performance. For close air support, the Sea Vixen is still surprisingly capable. While it lacks cannons or MGs to strafe ground targets, the Sea Vixen largely makes up for this with the ability to carry up to 2 1,000-pound bombs and up to 4 500-pound bombs simultaneously, which isn't exactly common amongst fighters at this BR. It can also carry 2 AGM-12B bullpups, of which are manually guided in lieu of 1,000-pound bombs. Heck, you can even equip RP, RP3, and AP rockets, though these rockets, quite honestly, are not very good and are easily the weakest loadouts possible on this aircraft. Regardless of the middling or mediocre rockets, the Sea Vixen carries a respectable amount of ordnance to the CAS role and can easily switch to air cover. Granted, you bring a missile or two in lieu of a 500-pound bomb or rockets. Now with that said, let's get into its strengths and weaknesses, and first for its strengths. The Sea Vixen has an excellent roll rate. Second, this vehicle has an excellent overall level of performance, especially regarding rate of climb, acceleration, and top speed. Third, the Sea Vixen features a radar warning receiver. Fourth, it features a surprisingly decent radar that can be used to help aim missiles. Fifth, this vehicle features great anti-ground ordnance options, including up to 2 1,000-pound bombs and 4 500-pound bombs, with options for manually guided AGM-12B bullpup missiles, as well as RP, RP3, and AP rockets. Beyond this, the Red Tops are, for the most part, entirely superior to AIM-9Bs, and you can carry up to 4 of them. And finally, the Sea Vixen features premium RP and SL bonuses, with the SL bonus being especially great even compared to most other premium aircraft. Now with that said, for its weaknesses, this vehicle only carries missiles and other secondary ordnance, which greatly limits versatility in air battles and makes it so that head-ons are impossible. You can largely only fire at an enemy if you're behind them and typically at least 0.5 kilometers away, as firing a missile within that range will typically lead to a miss. Second, the missiles cannot track through clouds, which greatly inhibits gameplay under such conditions. Third, this is a fairly large aircraft, making it a fairly easy target. Fourth, despite looking like it has two pilots, the person in the recessed cockpit is only labeled as a gunner, which means that once your pilot dies, you die. Fifth, while the Red Tops and Firestreak missiles are better than AIM-9Bs, they still require for the enemy to be lined up more or less in front of you and within 2 kilometers. Red Tops are a bit better and can track the enemy for about 2.3 times longer than the Firestreaks and also have a more sensitive tracker. For its sixth weakness, this will be touching on the previous weakness. The missiles carried by the Sea Venom have awful range and can hardly be used beyond 1 kilometer on the fastest aircraft, like F-104s. Even for subsonic aircraft, 2 kilometers tends to be the absolute limit if the enemy is directly in front of you, and maybe marginally higher if you're able to fire a somewhat perpendicular shot on your enemy. And finally, on the rare occasion that you fight prop aircraft, locking onto them is extremely difficult. Additionally, if a jet shuts its engine off, you will have a difficult time locking as well. Now with that being said, let's go over how I scored this aircraft, and first for air RB and dogfighting, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. This aircraft is extremely dependent on how you can manage spacing between yourself and the enemy. Despite this, if I had a category for fun in air battles, the Sea Vixen would likely be over a 9 out of 10. I personally love the Sea Vixen in the air combat, despite lacking any sort of gun. Its missiles, while overall are just meh, are still better in most aspects than AIM-9Bs, which are just starting to be introduced to players at this BR. Because of this, you can be extremely successful with the Red Tops, as most people aren't going to expect a semi-maneuverable missile that can track enemies with some level of competence. They aren't amazing missiles, but when fighting enemies that essentially universally lack countermeasures, you will do very well, at least once you get used to them. Pair this with the excellent overall flight performance, and the Sea Vixen is a fun and excellent fighter. Now for close air support, I give it a 6.75 out of 10. For an 8.7 BR fighter, the Sea Vixen is actually quite good or even great in the CAS role. While other aircraft at this BR are just starting to be able to carry good amounts of ordnance, the Sea Vixen still beats most of them. It can carry up to 4,000 pounds of bombs, which is great at this BR, and can even carry manually guided AGM-12Bs, which are devastating in the right hands. While the Sea Vixen is not an A4 Skyhawk, I wouldn't expect it to be, as those are essentially the premier strike aircraft around this BR, with most of them actually being a higher BR than the Sea Vixen. Simply put, while it isn't the best at close air support in game, the Sea Vixen is easily among the better planes in its BR bracket and class, which leads to it being surprisingly effective in this role. Now overall, I give it a 7.25 out of 10. For a plane that lacks a primary armament, the Sea Vixen is a hell of a good aircraft. With its Red Top missiles and excellent performance, the Sea Vixen can absolutely dominate air battles, especially when in a common down tier. Once you learn their quirks, the Red Top missiles are the deadliest air-to-air missiles available at this BR, and can be used to stealthily destroy up to 4 enemy aircraft before needing to reload at base. The other secondary weapons, namely the bombs and AGM-12Bs, are extremely effective in CAS, with the Sea Vixen being surprisingly versatile in that role. Now with that said, do I recommend the purchase of the Sea Vixen F.A.W. Mark II? Yes, I do. I absolutely love this aircraft, as it is not only capable and unique, but is also incredibly fun to play. It is a great way to learn the quirks of missiles in War Thunder before stepping into the big leagues at higher BRs. While I always say to wait for a sale, which I will echo here as I'm a frugal person, the Sea Vixen is just one of those planes that I would recommend to just about any type of player. It has something for everyone that isn't a gunfighting purist, and even then, this vehicle still has its merits. This aircraft can perform any role that you need it to perform and do so very well. Unfortunately, the Harrier GR1 is only about 530 Golden Eagles more expensive than the Sea Vixen, while also being at a higher rank, which means that it can grind through more of the tech tree than the Sea Vixen without receiving a penalty. While this technically makes the Harrier GR1 a better purchase for grinding, I would still say that the Sea Vixen, at least at its current BR, is more than worth the consideration for purchase over the Harrier, as it is one of the most fun aircraft in War Thunder, at least in my opinion. Because of its fun factor and excellent overall capabilities, price, I give the Sea Vixen F.A.W. Mark II both my recommendation for purchase and my Tankenstein seal of approval. I really wish War Thunder would bring in more oddball vehicles like this. They just make War Thunder a better and more fun place to be in. Now with that said, thank you all so much for watching. If you don't mind, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Please let me know what you think about the Sea Vixen and of this review in the comments below. Either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.